When the Washington football team picked Antonio Gibson in the 3rd round, I'll be honest and say that I was excited, but yet a bit nervous. The dude came from a non-P5 powerhouse in Memphis, and he barely got any playing time. In his just 2 seasons with the Tigers, he had a total of 726 snaps. For a 3rd round pick, this isn't a lot. Meanwhile, when Washington announced the pick, they said his position was running back. If you didn't know, Gibson mostly lined up as a receiver in college. He had just 33 rush attempts over the course of those 2 years. Needless to say, I was a bit confused. However, while I was definitely confused, when you turn on his film, you can see exactly why they picked him in the first place. Straight up, Gibson is an explosive athlete. Out of 77 career touches, including 44 receptions and those 33 rushes we just talked about, he scored 11 times. He averaged a touchdown 14% of the time. On top of this, his average reception went for 19 yards, and his average rush attempt went for over 11. So after watching his college tape again, I wanted to see how Gibson played as a rookie in Washington. And spoiler alert, there was a lot that I liked about him going through his film. Before we really begin though, I'm going to ask you a huge favor and please like and subscribe to this channel. I'd greatly appreciate that. So anyways, the first thing that immediately stands out to you when you turn on his film is how he reads on the fly to make the correct decision. He's very decisive behind the line of scrimmage. When he commits to something, he'll commit entirely to that action. Gibson will rarely stutter, he'll rarely double check the backside, and for the vast majority of the carries I saw, he'll just plant his feet and go. This is something I really liked. For example, on this power run against the Eagles in Week 17, watch how decisive he is at taking the A-gap on this play. He saw how the front 7 flowed towards the left side, and then he planted and attacked the appropriate gap. There was no hesitation, and this got him down the field quickly. While yes, this is a well-blocked play and the defense was completely out of position, but the key takeaway I had from this one was that there was zero wasted movement. Gibson knows when to press, he knows when to flip his hips, and he knows exactly when to turn up the field to gain positive yards. This happened all over his film. Now, for this video, I went through and hand-tracked his last 100 carries. I wanted to see any trends and to fully understand Washington's run scheme with Gibson. However, before we look at my results though, I want to thank Manscaped.com for being the sponsor of this week's video. Manscaped offers the best tools and liquid formulations for the big 3 odor zones: your body, your butt, and, well, your balls. Their Perfect Package 4.0 kit has all the tools you need to keep your family jewels clean. This kit includes the new Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, which is the only trimmer on the market with advanced skin-safe technology. This helps reduce nicks and cuts from all of your manscaping accidents. Trust me, this is a serious lifesaver. Plus, it's also water resistant, which makes it perfect for use in the shower. In addition to the trimmer, this kit includes the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and the Crop Reviver Ball Toner Spray. Simply apply the deodorant after the shower, or use the Reviver Toning Spray when you need nice and cooling spritz to quickly refresh the areas you need it. Now, for a limited time only, and if you go to manscaped.com/SamuelGold, you get 20% off your order, free international shipping, and 2 free gifts: the Shed Travel Bag and the Manscaped Anti-Shaving Boxer Briefs. This is a great deal exclusive to this channel, so make sure you check it out. So as I mentioned before the break, I hand-tracked Gibson's last 100 carries. What I saw in film was that Washington has a pretty diverse run game. Their scheme is pretty multiple when you look at it. Not only did I see a large variety in the play calls, but I saw a huge variation in simply how they set them up. This changed drastically on a game-by-game basis. For example, Washington's offensive coordinator Scott Turner, he called inside zone a whopping 14 different ways. This included jet sweep and orbit motions, but it also included a good mixture of zone read option and run pass option too. From my vantage point, it was very difficult to anticipate what this team was going to call in the very next snap. Now, going over some charts and graphs that I put together for this video, what I found was that Washington ran a zone play on 62% of their snaps. In addition to this, they did a pretty good job of running power and gap too. Their power plays were very underrated, and I honestly wish I saw more. When they can set up multiple blockers in space, they did an excellent job of getting their running back down the field. For example, on these carries, the offensive line in blue created over 4.5 yards per carry. Gibson then added an additional 1.2 yards on top of this. This just shows you how truly explosive these plays really were. Now, outside of the power plays, Washington's most common play with Gibson as the running back was inside zone at a shotgun. They loved this play in 2020. What was a lot of fun to see was how they used 2 running backs in order to create space. On the season, Washington used 21 personnel or 2 running back sets on 11% of their snaps. The league average last year was just 7%. Meanwhile, on their second most popular run, outside zone at a shotgun, this averaged over 5 yards per carry. 3.6 came from the offensive line, while Gibson did a good job of creating 1.4 on his own. Now, before we move on from this image though, I want you to look at the far right metric on your screen. That run play is duo out of single back. This is one of Gibson's best runs all year. As he gets more carries next season, I can easily see Washington running this play more frequently. Before we get back to the tape, I have one final chart to show you. This is how Washington uses pre-snap and during snap motions. My goal of separating these two is simply to see how this motion affected the defense. As you can see, both pre-snap and during snap motion objectively created more yards. The offensive line in blue created 14% and 40% more yards respectively. This is awesome to see, and it shows you how these movements really affect the defense. So as we go back to his tape, one of my favorite play calls came in week 16 against the Panthers. This is a run-pass option, power run to the right, all combined with an orbit motion to the backside in order to set up a screen. Let's look at this one closely. Before the snap, the quarterback will count numbers on each side. You'll see that there are 2 defenders lining up across the wide receivers, but you'll also see the deep safety at the left hash, as well as the backside linebacker shifted into the apex. This is a pretty easy tell for the quarterback to hand the ball to the running back instead. After the snap, there are only 6 defenders inside the box. With the receiver in an orbit motion behind the QB, and only 3 defenders on the right side of the center, this is a perfect setup for a power run to the right. The center and the right guard will pull to get in front of the running back. Meanwhile, the tight end on the right side will down block the edge defender to seal him backside. Once Gibson hits the edge, he presses further outside to give the center a better angle on the forced defender. This allows him to banish him from existence, while Brandon Scherff gets into open space with the safety. Gibson does an excellent job of patiently pressing towards the edge of each block, and this helps widen his run lane. He then cuts back inside, cuts back outside, and he finishes the run strongly for a 22-yard gain. This play on its own shows me 3 very good things. You have a creative play call from the offensive coordinator as number 1, you have an offensive line that can move and create holes outside as your number 2, and you have a running back that has the vision and patience in order to take advantage of his blocks in order to hit the hole. All combined together, and you have plays like this in pretty much every single game. Before in this breakdown, I mentioned how Washington runs duo out of single back, and it's one of Gibson's best plays on film. While I only saw 9 of these out of his last 100 carries, he still averaged roughly 6.5 yards per carry. Half of that came from his offensive line, but Gibson, to his credit, he created a lot on his own. For example, on this one against the Eagles, Gibson did a fantastic job of pressing the offensive line before making his cut. Not only did this draw the front 7 inwards, but he showed excellent vision and footwork to execute this play to perfection. Not many running backs could pick up 11 yards in this one. I just love how close he attacked the 2 defenders on the right, all before bouncing back towards his left. It's a really well run play. Now, as we watch these plays, one thing probably has stood out to you so far. Gibson is a crazily elusive running back. In 2020, the average running back created a missed tackle on 17% of his touches. Gibson, on the other hand, he created a missed tackle on 23% of his. When you look at running backs with over 100 total touches, Gibson ranks 6th overall in this metric. This puts him up with other running backs like Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, and Aaron Jones. Needless to say, he clearly has the talent to run with some of the best company in the entire NFL. Now, one major thing we need to talk about is something that I mentioned at the start of this video. I told you that Gibson was primarily a wide receiver in college. In his rookie season with Washington, he showcased that versatility too. Under Scott Turner, he uses what's called a pony offense. Basically, he likes using a quicker, more versatile running back that can be flexed outside. That versatility or that style of play is very important to his play calling. With Washington, he used Gibson and J.D. McKissic interchangeably in this role. Between the two, there were over 140 targets that were thrown to them, and combined together, they featured an average depth less than 1 yard past the line of scrimmage. Gibson, for instance, his average depth of target was actually negative in 2020. When I look at his tape closely, what Turner likes doing is he likes using his running backs to stretch the sideline zone defender. He wants to make damn sure that the running back is to match up against a linebacker. This way, when he breaks towards the sideline on a swinger flat, they have the potential to create extra yards with the catch. This is precisely what both McKissic and Gibson did last season. Gibson, on multiple occasions, he uses speed and quickness to get outside and pick up more yards. One thing I noted while going through his tape was that while Gibson clearly has the burst to hit the edge, I felt like his route running footwork can be a bit more crisp. He tends to roll his routes at times, but I do think he'll get better at that with more experience. Now, just a moment ago, I mentioned that the running backs had over 140 targets. Gibson only had 43 of them, while McKissic actually had close to 100. While McKissic was split out wide on 18% of his snaps, Gibson was only split outside on roughly 10% of his. It's clear that Turner trusted McKissic more last season. And, well, this goes with the obvious. Gibson was just a rookie. This was on purpose and by design. Turner wanted to dole down Gibson's role to make sure he focused on running properly in the first place. I guarantee you that Gibson will be used more fully next season. I think he'll eat into a lot of McKissic did in 2020. Overall, and to wrap up this video, what I saw from Gibson was 3 main things: decisiveness, elusiveness, and versatility. Those are his top 3 traits. In terms of pure talent as a running back, I think Gibson can definitely be special. Now, he may never be a Saquon Barkley or Dalvin Cook type of guy, but in the modern NFL, that's not nearly as important. He's going to be the next generation of Swiss Army knife running backs. He'll split out wide, he'll stretch the edge, and I think he has enough burst and decisiveness between the tackles that he's a perfect fit for this offense. In my opinion, there's so much upside for Gibson. I think the dude is going to break out, and I have a strong feeling he's going to finish as a top 10 running back next season. Well, that's all I have for you in this one. I haven't fully decided who I'm going to break down next, so please let me know who you want to see in the comments. As always, thank you so much for watching, and feel free to find me on Twitter at SamuelRGold.